I always thought high school was a place where nothing truly terrible could happen, where the worst we'd have to face were bad grades, gossip, or a failed football game. I was naive. I had no idea how wrong I was, how easy it was for darkness to creep in where laughter and lockers once were. It started with the four of us: me, Ethan, Lucas, and Clara. We were inseparable in the beginning. Ethan was the joker, the one who could make a skeleton laugh. Lucas, quiet and analytical, always seemed 2 steps ahead of anyone else. Clara was bright, not just smart, but glowing, as if light followed her through the hallways. And then there was me, the observer, the one who cataloged everything, afraid to speak up, but never able to look away. I remember that week like a fever dream. It was the first week of October, and the air had that peculiar bite, like the world was holding its breath. We were in the old library, the one they rarely used except for storage and the occasional rumor about a student who had disappeared years ago. The librarian, a gaunt woman with a permanent frown, warned us to stay away from the upper stacks, but of course curiosity always wins. We found a small door behind a shelf, nearly invisible unless you knew it was there. Lucas was the first to notice it. He leaned over, his fingers tracing the cold wood, and a shiver ran down my spine. "Do you think anyone even goes back here?" Clara whispered, her voice hesitant but tinged with excitement. "Only the brave, or the stupid," Ethan said, grinning. He shoved the door open without waiting for an answer. The hinges squealed like a scream, and I wanted to shut my eyes, but I couldn't. The room was tiny, barely big enough for one person, let alone four. Dust floated in the streaks of light from the high window. Old books lay scattered, pages yellowed and brittle. And then we saw it. A mirror, full length, framed in dark wood carved with patterns that seemed almost alive. The surface wasn't reflective in the way a mirror should be. It rippled slightly, like water disturbed by invisible fingers. "Why does it look like that?" Clara asked, touching it. Her fingertips trembled against the cold surface. Lucas frowned. "Maybe it's warped? Old glass does that sometimes." But Ethan leaned closer, his face almost merging with his reflection. That's when I noticed it, the way the reflection lagged just a fraction of a second behind our movements. I shivered. "Maybe we shouldn't—" "Relax," Ethan said. He smirked, but there was a nervous edge to his smile I didn't like. "It's just a mirror. Big whoop." But that night, everything changed. We started seeing things, small at first, shadows darting at the edges of our vision, whispers when we were alone, reflections that didn't quite match our movements. Lucas insisted it was all stress, anxiety, the kind of paranoia that creeps in when you spend too long in a stuffy library. Clara, however, began sleeping less and less. She said she could hear voices calling her name, soft, coaxing, like someone standing just behind the glass. Ethan laughed it off, but I caught him staring at mirrors in the hallway, long after the others had passed. One night, we decided to confront it together. We returned to the library after hours, flashlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. The door creaked as we pushed it open, and the mirror was waiting for us, silent and menacing. "I don't like this," Clara said, her voice shaking. "Something is wrong." "Of course it's wrong," I said, though my voice barely sounded like mine. "That mirror, it's not normal." Ethan leaned closer again. "You're imagining it." But then Lucas did something I'll never forget. He touched the surface, pressed his palm flat against it, and it wasn't solid. His hand sank into the mirror like water. He gasped, and we all froze. "Lucas, don't!" I screamed. But he didn't pull back. He was staring into the glass, mesmerized, as if the mirror itself was whispering secrets only he could understand. Then his eyes widened and he smiled. A smile too wide, too sharp, like it didn't belong to him. "I see it," he whispered. "I see what's behind it." "Lucas!" Clara cried, grabbing at his arm. But I knew, even before it happened, that we couldn't stop it. The mirror's surface rippled again, swallowing him inch by inch until there was nothing left but his shoes on the dusty floor. We didn't scream. Not immediately. We just stood there, paralyzed, staring at the empty space where he had been. The mirror now reflected only us, three terrified, broken humans. And something else, something lurking just behind the glass, watching. Clara fell to her knees, sobbing. Ethan's bravado vanished, leaving only raw, trembling fear. And I wanted to run, but my feet were rooted to the floor, my mind screaming, "This isn't real. This can't be real." After that night, everything escalated. Shadows moved closer, whispers grew louder, and the mirror followed us wherever we went. Classrooms, hallways, even our lockers. Sometimes I could catch a glimpse of it in a polished surface. Always there. Always waiting. Clara became obsessed with finding out what it wanted. "It's feeding on fear," she said. "The more scared we are, the stronger it gets." Ethan tried to fight it, tried to joke, tried to prove we weren't losing our minds. But one by one, the fear broke us down. Sleep-deprived, paranoid, seeing Lucas's distorted face in every reflection, I realized none of us would escape untouched. And then came the final day. We returned to the library, drawn by a mixture of guilt and desperation. Clara insisted we had to destroy it, smash the glass, do something. I knew it was hopeless, but I followed her anyway. Ethan trailed behind, muttering that we were insane, that nothing would happen if we just left. The mirror waited, silent, patient, its surface now perfectly still, mocking us. Clara lifted a heavy book and swung it at the glass. The impact sent a shower of shards across the floor, and for a moment, I thought we had won. But then the surface healed itself, smooth and perfect again, and the shadows within it shifted. It reached for her first. One of the shards of glass flew up and pinned her to the wall, her scream echoing in the empty room. Ethan ran forward to help, but the mirror's surface rippled like a pool, and an arm, dark, impossibly long, shot out and dragged her in. She didn't struggle. She just smiled, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And then she was gone. Ethan and I ran. We didn't stop until the library doors slammed behind us, until the fluorescent lights of the hallway mocked us with their normalcy. The next week, people noticed Clara was gone. They assumed she'd transferred schools or moved away. Lucas, of course, was never mentioned again. Ethan tried to pretend nothing had happened, but I could see it in his eyes. The mirror had touched him too, and he would never be the same. As for me, I can't stop seeing them. Not in mirrors, not in puddles, not in the corner of my eye. I hear whispers, faint but unmistakable, and I feel a weight pressing against my chest, pulling me towards something I don't want to see. I've learned to avoid mirrors whenever possible, but sometimes, just sometimes, I can't. And when I do, I catch a glimpse of Clara smiling, or Lucas grinning too wide, and I know they're waiting for me. The worst part isn't the fear or the guilt or the endless haunting. The worst part is knowing that the mirror doesn't just take people. It watches, it waits, and one day it will come for me. Until then, I live in quiet terror, hoping the reflection I see is really me, and praying that it never smiles back.